Hey everybody, it's Maria Boynton. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Atlanta Up Close. Today we are still talking election. There is a runoff on December 2nd, and we are focusing on, of course, the race for Atlanta School Board. Patreece Hutcherson is here. What district are we talking about? District 6.
Atlanta Public School District 6, which would be City Council 11 and 12. So those districts.
Of course. And why are you running? And part 2 of that is, what makes you different from your opponent?
I am so glad that you asked me that. Thank you for having me here today.
Certainly.
I'm so excited. I am running because I know what bad policies can do to a school board. And my son didn't have a teacher in his classroom. My mom, she was only one of 6 that was rehired when they shut down her school, Fane Elementary. And I put my name on the ballot and said, this has to stop. So it's time for public educators to make policies for public education.
And what makes you different from your opponent?
I am a 23-year veteran public educator. I go in the building every day, and I learned about policies and how they can affect our educational system. And my goal right now is to stop school closings and to make sure that policies are in place put there by public educators.
Okay, when you talk about you have children or a child in the school system, talk about that.
I tell you, he was in the school system. He's now at Morehouse, his first year. However, when this started, he was in the 3rd grade and he didn't have a teacher, and I was very upset about it. And I went to the principal, and he said, "It's not me, it's the school board." And I didn't know as an educator that it was a school board. And when I found out what they could do, that's when I put my name on the ballot, and I've been running it ever since.
You've been running ever since. How optimistic are you now that you will be successful and become a board member?
Oh my goodness, we made the runoff. I am so excited. We made the runoff, and so the word is getting out there. People are understanding that public educators should be making policies for public education, and schools should not be closed down in communities. That's just common sense. So I'm excited about it. The word is getting out, and the people are responding to it.
How about those APS graduation rates?
Oh my goodness, the APS graduation rates, they look phenomenal, but then we have to look at the reading, the literacy issues. We can graduate them, but if they can't read, then that's a problem. So we need to put more warm bodies. And I'll tell you, I've talked to a couple of people about the importance of this race and how we're saying it's $100 million that's a deficit. Well, the problem, Maria, is that they keep rolling out new curriculums every year. And right now it's time for us to stop that disparity where they don't have low teacher morale, where they're putting out these new curriculums every year. It doesn't get to roll out. It costs $50 million each year. $50 million. That's money that we could use within our facilities. That $100 million shortfall would not be there if we were doing the correct thing with our budget and not giving new curriculums every other year.
Everyone, we're talking to Patreece Hutcherson. She is a candidate for District 6 Atlanta School Board. Talking about those graduation rates, Patreece, I mean, how important are they? Yeah, to everyone in the district, but more specifically, talk about why they're so important to those who don't have children even.
Well, the importance, because I'm also a school counselor, we want to have the graduation rate, but we also want to make sure that our students are employable. So we want to give them skill sets so they'll know how to go out and get a new job. Right now, we have a disparity in the Atlanta public school system where there are 9 CTAE pathways, and those are careers pathways for students. And then in the South Atlanta district, it's only 3. So we need to shorten that gap, bring out more programming, bring out more theme schools, make sure that our students are viable once they graduate. So graduation rates are important, but we also need to make sure that life beyond high school is employable, that students can work after or go to college or both.
Yeah, Georgia Lottery funds pre-K, right?
Yes.
So is it true that you have waiting lists on one end and no waiting lists on the other? Talk about that.
I am not familiar with the waiting list, but I do know that on the north side that the population is, from the false narratives that's being put out, that the population is overpopulated over the north side, but then we're underutilized in the south side. So now at Continental Colony, where my son used to go to school, we have buildings going up, new apartments, but they're saying we still need to shut down the school because it's not enough people. Well, that doesn't make sense. We have apartments going up. people are going to be coming. So that school needs to stay open. So that's my goal, is to stop school closings and to make sure that we have a voice at the table, that the people's voice are being heard.
And hopefully to fill those slots too on the south side.
Yes, absolutely. Fill them with people that need to be in their community. Children should be able to walk to school just like they do on the north side. Children should be able to go to their schools in their community and not have empty buildings like Venetian Hills that's in my community over 10 years. That's awful. And with the transparency isn't there. So Atlanta Public School has not done the best job. The board shutting down over 16 schools in a 3 months time. That's not okay. We have to do better about getting transparency, and that's why I need to be in this seat, so that we can have transparency and have somebody that can actually bring integrity back to our community.
And when we talk about closing the schools, Patreece, you don't feel we're going about it the right way?
Absolutely not. I've been saying it for over 10 years. Stop school closings. We need to have schools in our community. I went to Washington High School, in Magnus Jones Elementary School, both APS schools, and we never heard anything about a school shutdown. But 16 since the month of August, and they want to vote on this in December. That's not okay. As a public educator, I know that we have projections 5 years in advance, 10 years in advance. This inept board has to stop. Even the person that was appointed to this position that I'm running against, and I don't have anything against them, but they don't understand the gravity of what's going on. We need someone in there with the experience, which I have, a public educator, which I am, and a mother whose child's classroom was affected, and a parent. So I have all of those things, and I'm going to keep speaking up for the community.
You talk about being a product of Washington High. You from Atlanta?
I am from Atlanta, Morris Brown College. I got my master's from Ohio State in school counseling, and that's where I've been working ever since, with my degree in public education for school counseling.
Patreece Hutcherson, everyone, is here. She's a candidate for Atlanta Public Schools, the Atlanta School Board, District 6. And when we talk about advice, let's say, what advice would you give, Patreece, to parents, grandparents, guardians, getting our children, because a big complaint is they're always on their phones. I mean, what advice would you give them in helping them to get their children to put down those phones and maybe read a newspaper if they're still in print, or a magazine, a book, something?
I used to have time with my son where we would just read to each other. He would read to me, I would read to him. We had which I want to institute as a school counselor. When you have men in the building, just being in there, the students perform better. I don't know what it is, but having a man in the building, students perform better.
How you know that, Patreece?
It's an article. They researched it. They said students do better. So my goal is to get more men in the building. Come read. Police officers, fraternities, anyone can come and just read to the children, and they respond better to it. They do better. Now, not to say that we don't need educators that are not women and men, but men just make the halls, heroes of the halls is what we're going to call it.
Okay, Patreece Hutcherson, everyone, is here. You truly want to be on the school board. You feel that you would make a difference. Now, how optimistic are you that it can come to fruition for you?
I believe that the word is getting out, that the policies have been very haphazard. The people are now wanting a new choice. They want to go against the status quo, which we've been used to seeing the same type of person in the seat. And now it's time for us to really have our voice heard. It's time for the community to pick a real person from the community, and I'm one of those, a public educator, a mom, a daughter, and I will be the voice for them.
Okay, Patreece Hutcherson, candidate. Why don't you look in your camera and tell everyone why you should be the choice for Atlanta School Board District 6?
All right. So I'm Patreece Hutcherson, running for Atlanta Public School Board District 6. Your choice is to have someone who will listen to you. And it's time for us to have public educators to make policies for public education. We wouldn't be in this situation if it did. So now we're going to stop school closings, make sure your voice is heard, and to have our communities exactly the way they were when I was in school in the Atlanta Public School System.
Patreece, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for listening to yet another edition of Atlanta Up Close. And of course, you can always listen to on the Odyssey app. I'm Maria Boynton.